and begins to dissect the matter with his question. Quote, "If we do not wish to argue against him from betrayal of Louis the Saint and King of Jerusalem, from the surrender of the castles of Karak and Acre, from the aliens struck with the assassins, from the connivance with the Sultan of Egypt, if we did not care to give credence to the frequent confessions about the worship of the idol, the spitting and the trampling of the cross, and the unspeakable crimes committed or permitted, what prevents us from considering all these things not only as probable, but also true? When we consider the nature of men in the times and find a similar doctrine and similar customs in so many other sects of the Middle Ages." End quote. He's basically saying, why are we to consider, as the historians tell us, that these things are false, yet they have the exact same philosophy as the orders of the Middle Ages? He believes this connection is the evidence, but it takes one who can see symbols to understand them. Also, there are more controversies that he mentions, like the unrestrained military conduct in various Eastern sects, and especially in the famous Manichaeans, Albigensians, Mazdeans, and Assassins during the wars for the recovery of the Lord's tomb. That the plague of this doctrine and crime also crept into the society of Christian soldiers, whose founders could not associate a single candidate with themselves for a decade until they took refuge in the bosom of the church, concealing the secret doctrine, according to all probability, already existing at that time under the institution of Saint Bernard. Which is interesting if we consider the plot and background of the Assassin's Creed games, but this is history. The Assassins he's speaking of is an order that normally does not get brought up when discussing the Templars. That this Christian military order was doing secret business with the Nizari Ismaili, or the Assassins, a medieval Islamic sect led by Hassan Sabah, which was operating in the same time period and founded 200 years prior to the Templars at the beginning of the millennium. There are several references to this one popular account. It's called the Old Man of the Mountain, who was an assassin that is referenced in the Book of the Marvels of the World by Marco Polo. There's a lot to break down on the Assassins, but we can say this, that the Assassins were essentially the mystery sect or Islamic version of the Christian mystery sect, and both these sects have very similar initiations and philosophies, and that's the main premise of this book, Mysterium Baphomet Unveiled. Okay, but back to the book. Kirkstall is saying that these religious sects were operating under the guise of religion. It was just a front. So he starts off with the term idols, because remember, our term Baphomet is what we use to communicate in terms of the possibility of the deity that they worshipped. But he says it that way because typically Baphomet is a goat-headed demon, but there are other forms to consider. He does this by looking at their artifacts, and this includes their mysterious cups or chalices, sculptures, and the coins of the Templars. One last line from the preface, and we're going to dive into these symbols. Quote, "For this reason, bundles of original documents and processes sealed to this day in Rome lie hidden, which, as all things were eventually brought to light, we do not doubt will wonderfully agree with the monuments we've discovered and revealed when they become part of public law. In the meantime, these stone and bronze monuments, taken from the secret discipline and harmful doctrine of the Brothers of the Military Order of the Temple, will suffice to convince all